Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview covering the VCT in the off season. But for this occasion, I have here with me a player for this time, and as for who that person is, it is AvovA of Apeks. Apeks, of course, the newest team that will be joining the VCT EMEA League for the 2025 season. Of course, Apeks, the same team that did win Ascension at the end of the 2024 season, and so as the team now gears up for 2025, I have him here with me to just talk about the team, what he's been doing, and basically everything around that junction. So, Avova, like I said before, thank you so much for giving me a chance for this quick conversation. Well, quick in
Yeah.
quotation marks. But yeah, got to give you the obvious opener. What's been like life like? How are the vibes? Or what's been preparation, all that stuff.
I mean, from the beginning of the year with Apex, yeah? Or with this roster? Which one would you like?
Whichever you feel like you want to cover first.
I mean, at the moment, up till this final roster, it has been pretty stressful because everything happened pretty quickly with soulcas and kaajak. I mean, everyone kind of expected kaajak, but then soulcas was kind of like a last minute thing. I'm happy for both of them. They both deserve it, but yeah, it was kind of pretty hectic. Like we had 1.5 months of trials, which is pretty long, and we just trialed everyone. Like we just trialed people from like tier 5, tier 6. I don't know, like players I've never heard about. Just gave everyone a chance and see who we liked. But right now we got Florescent and someone I can't talk about right now, but they're both great players. I'm really happy to have them both on my team.
Well, yeah, like given how you put it right there, I mean, like we kind of saw a similar instance back in the end of the 2023 season in which Apex didn't win Ascension, but basically had seen the entire roster go to different ways. I remember Enzo, you had Enzo, Kiko, and also Mystic going over into Team Liquid, and also other people that went over to different organizations, but kind of had the similar
Hmm.
occurrence. Technically, this time, with Kayak and soulcas, as you said, going over
Yep.
to different orgs. I mean, you kind of saw that, and you kind of already talked about how the feeling was for you, and also had like a little bit of an expectation given how Apex was going to, after winning Ascension, go over to VCT EMEA with kind of the same roster, because obviously that's what I kind of like the most about seeing these Ascension teams make the jump over to Tier 1, because over in EMEA we saw Gentlemates pull that off. Uh,
Hmm.
Basically decided not to make any single change and just giving the players that made the accomplishment possible have a chance, at least have a chance to kind of get their reps in Tier 1. And I kind of had that expectation to happen for this team. Obviously, that didn't happen, but
Yeah.
diving into just the kayak and soulcas, I believe. I mean, it'd be fair to say that you kind of had the expectation going into the off season that kayak and soulcas was going to continue and play with you guys
Hmm.
in 2025.
I mean, that would be the ideal scenario, but I had a feeling that Kai would probably get picked up. Like he was playing out of his mind, so I kind of expected that. I even put it in the interview after you won Ascension that Frederick shouldn't pick him up. But yeah, with Soulcast, we knew that he had a trial, but we were not sure if it was gonna go or not. But it kind of happened pretty fast. Like we just got a WhatsApp message, oh, I'm going, and then we started like, okay, we need to look for players right now. And we were in the middle of break and stuff like that, so you kind of had to cut it short and just grind through because everyone pretty much got picked up like while we were in the session. Like I'm pretty sure like Gentlemates were on the last like iteration of their roster and a lot of different teams. So you're like, okay, there's not that many players left to pick from that are really good because we still need to perform pretty much in VCT, even though we only got 1 year instead of 2, like Gentlemates. But it is what it is. It's life. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was pretty hectic, but I'm really happy now. We had a 2 weeks bootcamp in Serbia with the 2 new players and Oris, our second coach, and I'm really happy about everything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to VCT next year.
Exactly how many people did you trial exactly? I'm curious. You said 1,000. Was it actually like thousands?
I would say 50 plus maybe. Like both duelist and initiator. That's what we were looking for. And Hype went on vacation as well because he already had planned it. So he went for like a bit more than a week. So we played without him as well. So we literally played like two different initiators and the duelist and me and Molsey. And of course Danny on the coach. I mean, it was pretty weird, but yeah, in the end it worked out.
I mean, like, given what you said about having to look for a player as quickly as you can, I mean, on top of just having it be like a massive blow to just kind of like how the team was going to probably retain itself from 2024 to 2025, as you guys now got into the trials and and had to like look for a player as quickly as you guys could. Um, what were some of the prerequisites, or more so like the things or aspects that you and the rest of the squad were looking for in terms of just looking for your next teammate, kind of qualities
Mhm.
that you were searching for?
I mean, we're obviously looking to replace two great players. And kind of we had feeling that we needed something similar. Like we had great firepower and our comms were really good. Like soulcas would do a lot of mid rounding and kaajak was giving his mid rounds as well. He's a bit more like, it's not like an aggressive duelist, but he'll sometimes do some plays and we'll work around that. Like we would work around him basically. We had a good system there. We kind of needed the same, but obviously with this late into the season or into the off season, it was hard to find someone that has already played in tier 1 or like high tier 2. So you kind of needed to find either new players that got huge potential or just players that are okay. With Floor, she won Game Changers champions, and like Apeks told us maybe we can try Floor. You're like, okay. I mean, we tried everyone basically, so why not? We tried and we got really impressed already from the first time. But we had, I think, one or two more other duelists that we tried, and they were like on the same level, I'll say. But then the second time we tried Floor again, holy shit! Like she just destroyed everyone. And we're like, okay, it's gonna be her, you know. And with the initiator that I cannot talk about right now, this guy, he got huge potential. Like he has not played on an English team yet. His English is a bit, it's some language barrier sometimes, but it's gonna work out. Like his aim is absolutely insane, and his mid rounds are great. Like I'm really impressed by this kid. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have found two players that can fill Kai's and soulcas' shoes, you know. So I'm happy about that because it was looking a bit rough when we were trying. Not gonna lie, like we had some players where they had great aim, but their comms were not that good, or it's obviously like really good comms, really bad aim. Like you're like, okay, this is a bit hopeless. But then we found these two, and yeah.
Going a little bit into fluorescent, first and foremost, I remember like I went through a couple of interviews from like GC champions, and Effie's talked about how Floor was very mature in the sense that she can recognize what it is she needs to do and communicate efficiently and sufficiently to the rest of her teammates, and it gives that of a sense of like she's already a VCT tier 1 player. Given that you kind of like looked into how she played for the trials, how'd you kind of look at how advanced or more so mature she was, and just having to like measure her game sense, measure how she communicates, and also like measure how she kind of vibes with the rest of the team?
Mm-hmm. I mean, her mechanics are, whew, I mean, the best I've ever seen. I would say, like I've seen kaajak. I said the same with him. Like he had one of the best mechanics, but Floor is so out of this world sometimes. Like I've seen some rounds, I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, I wish I could do that, you know. There's sometimes in like maybe game sense or comms, I would say you can see that she didn't get her reps in Tier-1, but we are working on that, and I really think she's gonna be doing great. I mean, holy shit! Like, I just want to see how she's gonna do in VCT because her mechanics are just crazy.
I mean, like, of course, Florescent mostly had her or mostly competed in GC, so there was kind of a sense that like,
Mm.
or more so a thought of I can assume from you guys as to like, okay, she kicked ass in GC, but what happens in Tier 1? Maybe there
Mm.
might be a little bit of a difference in terms of how she played. Did you kind of have that like thought coming into trying her out? Did that kind of happen for you at a moment?
Oh yeah, I was thinking she wouldn't do that great. Not gonna lie. I know she had one of the best mechanics, but I thought her game sense and console would be lacking. But she actually impressed me there as well. Like, she's pretty complete package. Uh, we just need to like teach her some stuff, and it's not some big stuff or anything really. We just need to implement it, and that's it.
Stuff like what?
I would say like I think game changers, she could just literally run it down and kill 5 players in 2 seconds. But against Tier-1 players, it's a bit harder because they have different setups, maybe a bit better aim or whatever. Like, she just needs to call for like a flash. I want this utility. I mean, she can do it like herself. Like, how do I say it? I mean, she would run into a side, let's say, and she wouldn't ask for the utility. She would just think that we would throw it for her. I think maybe in her previous team they had like a full-on setup for her for like every exec or whatever. But how we play is she can ask anything on the fly, and we will do it.
Eh,
And it's of course also on us to add stuff like I can smoke, I can blind. They will come and reveal, but I say a KO flash is kind of important. Like, I'm gonna dash here, can you flash here? Some small stuff like that.
But besides all of that, she's basically all primed and ready to go as like a Tier 1 player, right? Basically.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm really impressed by her.
Well, I gotta give you the obvious comparison question, given that you've had some time playing with kaajak for or some time, basically the entire year. You get my point, though.
Hmm.
Basically, how'd you kind of compare Fluorescent to kaajak as a duelist?
I'll say that the mechanics are insane, but their playstyle is a bit different, I would say. I mean, I don't know. It's just different. I can't really explain it. Like, kaajak is a bit more methodical in how he plays, and Flora can actually just go full in and just destroy people.
So more so like slower in terms of just having to ask for the things you need for the rest of the team to support you in basically
Mm,
much more slower in that or more
yeah.
so difference in pace.
I feel like it's a difference in pace. Like, Flora can do things a lot faster, and she literally do her job. Like, she get 1 or 2 kills, sometimes 3. I'm like, what the fuck? We just wander around, just you running in like this, I mean, she's doing really good space for us. Like, when she's entering size and stuff like that, it's amazing. It's really good to have someone like that.
Is having fluorescent a kind of player to do stuff like that, having to go all in so quickly. Is that like very different compared to the types of duels you had over the years in Valorant? Because of course you've been at this for a very long time,
Mm.
both in Tier 2 and Tier 1. Most specifically, or more so primarily in Tier 1. Does she stick out like that in that sense? Is she like uh the first such duelist you've had in terms of playing in that kind of very quick and very firepower y kind of way?
I mean, they've all had firepower, but they all have their own little style to it. I've mainly played with a bit more passive. I would say, not passive, but a bit more methodical. Let's say this space. I'll not dash into both on ascent just to do it. I'll play with Nuki, Kaajak, and Kellogg's, and even Mixwell at some point. I'll say she compares more to Kellogg's in a way, because he's a lot more aggressive. But she got like different gears, I would say. So it's not good to have like just one type of gear, like only aggressive or only passive. She can mix it up.
Of course, definitely having basically playing like a Swiss Army knife, just being so versatile in whatever situation one is put under. And so, yeah, like definitely looking forward to that. I mean, I know you said, well, moving over to the other player that, of course, obviously you said you won't kind of reveal in this conversation. We'll kind of figure that out in due time. Can you at least give me some hints as to like what kind of player they are? Just for the sake of
I
understanding.
mean, I found him from a ranked. Like at least you played one ranked game with him. He didn't shoot that much. He had like, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 kills. But he was talking a lot and his vibes were great. And I don't know why, but I was like, I just typed in our Discord, let's try this guy. And they were like, both Danny and Mosi were like, whatever, Some tier 2.5. Oh, I was about to say this. Wait, when is this interview going out?
Mostly like in early January.
Okay, I mean, then I can probably say it. He played like in the Turkish league. And he didn't have a lot of experience. His stats were good, from what I can remember. But nothing insane. And I was like, they're like, yeah, whatever. We'll try him in the later stages, before we go into the second stage of trials again. And then we had a Red Bull qualifier, and we were trialing Natank as well. And Natank got the offer with Lev. So we just had to get a replacement like instantly. And then we just asked this guy, and he just said, yeah, let's play. And his vibes were great. He was playing insanely well. His comms were really, really good. And we were like, yeah, this is the guy, like almost instantly.
Like literally no doubt after having to or literally having no doubt.
I mean, I would say almost no doubt. The initiator role, I feel like the guys we tried, it was a bit really like not the greatest. So when we saw him, like he hit all the notes. Mm-hmm.
No, for sure, and definitely looking at Turkey as a country, basically continuing their takeover of the VCT scene, whether it is in EMEA or also in the international scene. I mean, do you kind of feel like that's kind of happening gradually with Turkish players basically arriving and also raising hell whatever team they play against? Do you think that the Turkish takeover is continuing?
Yeah, I think you need like one Turkish player in your team if you want to be the best. That's how it is right now. Like, look at Fnatic and Heretics.
Yeah, like I mean, they've kind of struck gold in that sense, but yeah, hopefully that can happen the same for this Apex team in due time. And talking about facing off against or playing with Turkey, I kind of want to flip it over to another direction in that same topic, facing off against Turkey, because and when I say that, I'm looking at, of course, Ascension in EMEA a few months ago, which was where Apex got that right to compete in the league for 2025. And so, I mean, jumping over into the finals, facing off against Pacific, and basically that went the entire distance, full 5 maps. You guys were down exactly 2-1 earlier on in the series, but you guys clawed back, tied up, and then win it the very end. And so, kind of want to ask you about just sort of that time facing off against Pacific Leader. What was that kind of obstacle like in having to face off against a team that was coming into it practically new to the scene, collective wise? The players were basically had a majority young age, and so what was the kind of the experience like to face off against a team like that? Because I would say, looking at the entire year for Apex, that final series was basically the hardest challenge that the team faced the entire year. Might be wrong.
Yeah.
You kind of elaborate on that, but still, like, how you
Hmm.
kind of look at the experience in that event, and particularly in that finals.
I mean, we were pretty much screen partners with Pacific. I mean, before like this whole Ascension qualifiers or whatever, we didn't really expect them to be there. I'm not gonna lie, because there were some insane Turkish teams in their league, and they somehow won it all. And you're like, what the fuck? I mean, it's our scrim partners. You're just spamming icebox against them, and Loita will peek B main like 10 times on TT side. We're like, what the fuck? He will kill like 2 guys, and we're like, what the fuck is he doing? You know, do it on land kind of thing. They have insane firepower, those kids. Holy shit. I think they just lacked experience, and that's one of the reasons that why we won the whole thing. But it was a great experience for me. I really feel like I played well. I showed my experience. I was just giving on the stage, like they would just scream at us, and I would just give it back. You know, I would keep people calm and stuff like that. I mean, this whole attention final was, yeah. I mean, we didn't really expect to go to map 5, but it was good to have this experience. I think one player to look out for in Pacific is Larok and Loita. Like these 2 kids, when they turn 18, if they're not in VCT, I don't know what people are doing. Not gonna lie, especially Larok. They got a bright future, I would say. Like they're so young, playing in the finals. Just won against CGN as well, and I mean, everything was really fun as well.
You know, like looking over into the entire series, you had two maps that kind of went all 24 rounds, and basically
Mm.
decided at the very last round right then and there. You know, obviously, in at the end of map 3, Haven, they won 13-11. And so obviously with all of that going on with Apex, and just sort of on top of just having to overcome the previous year's Ascension finals failure, losing to Gentle Mates. There was also just sort of the uncertainty regarding, you know, what's going to happen to the org had you guys not won the tournament, because there was a statement early on in the year about you
Yeah,
basically them parting ways with their other divisions besides Valor, and they're basically putting all of their eggs into that basket. Kind of had a
yeah.
conversation with members of the Apex squad before this, and so I kind of had their point of view about that. But I want to ask you, you know, as a player, as someone on the server that was actually experiencing it head on, what was the mindset as you guys were looking into, you know, Lotus and also Ascent, you know, the final 2 maps, and having to kind of claw back and create the
Mm.
tie?
I mean, I think the whole like how we prepared until up to this ascension, like we prepared really well, especially with like you'll have performance scrims and play best of 5s and stuff like that. And I really think that that's one of the reasons that we won as well, because we know how it feels to play this long. I think we have, even though we played in Polaris, we would still prepare like any other team. Like we would know if we didn't even prepare, we would still like smash every team basically. So our whole preparation up until Ascension Finals has been great. Sorry, what was the question again?
Basically, the mindset. What was the mindset like,
The
having
mindset,
to
yeah,
go from like
yeah,
2-1, or from being
yeah,
2-1 down up until, you know, end of the series?
yeah. Okay,
Mindset specifically.
yeah. I mean, I would say it's like the whole build up until there. I didn't feel any pressure at all. I mean, obviously I feel the pressure, but I didn't feel like, oh shit, we lost now or something like that. I just try to keep people in a good mental state, and I mean, just take it one map at a time, one round at a time. I'm gonna be there, you know. So I didn't really think, okay, we are 2-1 down. We threw Haven pretty much. We had some funky comp on Ascent. We didn't really play Ascent that much. So we just kind of not gambled, but we knew that we would not pick Ascent first, and we're just gonna play defense with this Deadlock Cypher Eurocomp. And yeah, I mean, we just took one map at a time, and that's it pretty much.
Yeah, and then looking over into just how this Apex squad performed on Lotus, winning it. People probably might not are not going to remember that. For a point, there was a time in which there was a world in which Pacific was going to continue that momentum from the
Yeah.
end of Haven to winning Lotus, because you guys were down 4-8 at the end of the first half in Lotus. Then you guys obviously clawed back, winning like the next 5 rounds in a row on the attack side, and then closing it out from then on. And then you were the top fragger from that map, and
Mhm.
you kind of already said it right there. Just sort of mindset in having to go through that to Lotus and also to Ascent. Um, Basically, how'd you kind of view your performance on map 4 in particular, given that in a lot of ways you kind of help contribute to map 5.
Yeah. I mean, the Lotus is really like I don't remember it that well. Like it's really
Yeah.
blended in my head. But I just remember there was one round, like I think we dropped the spike on B. I'm not sure. It was one of the last rounds of the map. It wasn't overtime, right? This game?
No.
It wasn't. Okay, it was probably one of the last rounds, and we dropped the spike on B somewhere, and yeah, I'm like, okay, this is it, maybe. But I just had a gut feeling that it's time for me to shine. Like I have to do something. I had an omen, so I literally wrapped around like their spawn all the way over to C, and I'm just calling the guys like what to do and stuff like that, because they literally had the spike deep into B, and we just could, like, if we just played the round normal, we would have lost, like, no matter what. So I literally had to pull something out of the hat, and thank God I did. I omen TP on top of the bomb and wrapped around the guy on C from their own spawn, and I didn't expect that. Like watching the WOD back, I think the Soul was droning Heaven because he thought I was there or something, and I somehow timed it so everything just lined up and all the stars aligned. Yeah, I feel like if I didn't do that play, we would have lost pretty much, and I'm really happy I did that.
Course, definitely happy for that. And yeah, like you kind of already mentioned about how map 5 played out, given that in one ways the pressure finally settled in onto the Pacific one because it was so new, and given
Mhm.
how Apex was continuing that momentum, specifically in the first half of a set. Do you feel like that was the difference, more so just sort of having a much more concrete and much more stable mindset compared to that of Pacific? Do you think that was the difference in map 5?
I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, I feel like Valorant is really like mental based. Like, you cannot really have one round you're like, oh, like feeling sorry for yourself. Like, you always have to keep going, keep talking, keep adapting, stuff like that. I mean, I feel like we had how we built a team with having three guys with a lot of experience. And then Hype, he has a lot experience from Tier 2 as well, and Kaajak, which is the new guy pretty much. Like how we built the whole thing is, I feel like that's what made us go to like win the whole thing pretty much. If you had maybe one more new guy and you didn't have, let's say, soulcas multi, I think we might have crumbled, because it usually just takes one guy to make the whole thing crumble.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and you guys came out on top. And I mean, kind of, I believe I already mentioned it earlier on about talking about the final, but you were like the top fragger for the entire season, not just focusing on like
Hmm.
one map in particular. Just sort of, how'd you kind of view your form in general? Just going from um in the lead up to the finals and into the finals itself. What kind of made the switch for you? What kind of made you flip the switch, figuratively
Yeah.
speaking, to play so well?
I mean, I think it started pretty much from joining Apex, I would say. I didn't have a great year in Heretics in the previous season. And I was like, okay, I was looking like into myself, like, what did I do wrong this year? because I was playing well before, and I just came down to that I was stressing myself for no reason. Like if I watch the VOD back, sometimes I'm like, I'm not calm. I'm usually like calm when I'm playing. I'm methodical. I'm just talking slow. And when I'm watching my VODs back, my aim is like full shaking and stuff like that. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So I thought that my aim should get better, especially under pressure. That's something I was focusing on a lot. My aim, my mechanics. So I did some aim coaching with a guy called Cartoon for like 8 weeks or so, up till Ascension. I was like every day at least 1 hour. Like I was just grinding it out, playing a lot of ranked, watching VODs. Just I was reading some like how do you say self-help books or something like that, like about mental sports or whatever. I don't know how you call it in English. I was preparing myself for this moment pretty much, and I think that's what maybe plays so well in the final.
What kind of books did you read? Do you have like any titles to share for anyone that would probably be wondering about if they want to do the same?
I mean, wait, let me just search it up. The name is in Danish, but it's from Lars Robel. He's a Danish mental coach. He's in Falcons right now. He was in Astralis and Vitality before. I think he won the major with Vitality, if I'm not wrong. Let me just search it in English because I read it in Danish. Let me see. Oh, it's like learn to perform when it matters the most, pretty much, by Lars Robel. Yeah, I mean, I read that, and there were some really good points in that I took with me and built around it pretty much.
Definitely interesting indeed, and I kind of want to point into the work the work on the aim lab thing or the aim training kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you kind of look at that experience? Was that the first time you ever looked into that kind of stuff? Taking it to improving your aim. Did
Mm-hmm.
that was that taking it into particular focus for the first time at this point in your
Yeah, I
career?
mean, I was doing it a bit before with Mini from the same group, like Voltaic. I was doing it for a bit, but it wasn't that serious. I was like, okay, I mean, I'll just play like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but it wasn't like every day for 8 weeks. It was like here and there, and I could feel the how do you say? I could feel the reward from it, but I wasn't thinking too much about it. I was playing the game, and sometimes I would play some aim lab, and that's it. And this time I was like, okay, I really need to have good mechanics because I know I had a good mental and I knew how to play the game sense, but I feel like I was slacking that department. Because right now, how Valorant is I feel like it's really aim heavy right now compared to how it was maybe 2 years ago. So I feel like I was slacking there, and yeah, that was what I was putting my focus on.
In what way made it such that the state of the game is so different compared to how it is right now? Because as you said, you've been at this for a very long time, basically from the start of the game itself to
Mm-hmm.
this point. So obviously you see very different versions of the meta play itself out, and you see different players come and go within multiple levels in the scene. And so on top of having to look at you just sort of the the aiming and stuff and the thing that you mentioned in your answer just now, what else do you think changed the most for the game from your point of view?
I don't know. I feel like people are a lot more proactive right now compared to how it was. I mean, obviously there's been proactive teams, but right now I feel like everyone is so proactive. Like they literally walk push as 2 or 1, and if you can't kill or trade that, you're pretty much fucked. Because in the end, in this game you have to shoot. Back in days, it was a lot more. Okay, we have this set execute. We'll do this default into that, and right now everything. I feel like you can just run defaults and just walk as 2 or take some control, take and give, push and pull. Um, I mean, you just need the heavy shooters pretty much right now. You can do all the theory crafting, game plans, and whatever, but if you don't shoot, you're done. Like there's some players right now that I'll see as 2 years ago, like they're not good, you know. Right now they are in VCT and just destroying everyone.
I think one way as to why this sort of change has been happening over in the Valorant team, because I'd say it's because now we're at a time in which the players that are coming into the higher levels of the professional scene, they're now mostly kind of playing all of their entire time in Valorant, or more so in the sense that they started playing in this game only, and that
Oh
then
yeah,
helped
yeah.
them. Then that helped then shape the way how they play, instead of just having to look at other people from how they played their stuff in different games altogether. Because I remember early on in the scene, yourself and also many other people transition over to Valorant from like CS and
Hmm.
all those other games,
Yeah,
and
from CS, yeah.
having to like get into the professional scene very fairly quickly, and then that kind of gave you guys a bit of a competitive edge, not only in just having, you know, the raw aim and having a much better aspect in that compared to the other players that are trying to find their way into the scene organically in only playing this game, but also having, you know, competitive experience and having to, you know, use that against the other teams that make up that kind of players that I've just
Hmm.
talked about. And so, what I'm trying to get at is like, do you feel that transition, or more so that evolution of the game, is such because of how there are more people getting into it organically, as opposed to, you know, having ex pros going into the
Yeah,
scene early
yeah.
on?
I mean, for sure. Like in the beginning, you will see like a bunch of CS players, and maybe after 1 or 2 years, you could see that some CS players they're like just dropping off because they just couldn't adapt. Like they have this boomer mentality, like, oh, I'm from CS, I'm the best, and they forget about a lot of stuff that Valorant is a bit different, you know. Then you see like there's a lot of pro players from CS that will come over, they'll destroy in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you just get destroyed by Team Eternal 24, you know, from ranked. I'm like, and then we get destroyed in the tournament. They're like, okay, I don't want to play anymore, and you don't really see them in CS or anything anymore. They just quit pretty much. Um, I think the people that came from CS and stayed is people that are gamers, I would say, because I feel like in CS, it's like they have this mentality. They I only play CS. I don't play any other games. I feel like in Valorant, there's a lot of different people, different communities, and stuff like that. And I feel like in overall, it's like you have to be a gamer if you want to be like a pro Val gamer. I don't know. You have to like adapt always, and I feel like for me, especially like I play any kind of game, so I'm pretty used to new changes and new abilities and all sort of stuff. So I'm pretty fast to adapt to new agents and maps and all sort of stuff. So I feel like you need this mentality that it's not gonna stay the same like in CS.
You know, many people can kind of talk the talk, but very few can like walk the walk, and you've basically done exactly that.
Hmm.
Basically, as I kind of said earlier on, seeing different versions of the game played so out. You being a part of very different teams, you know, looking at over in Heretics early on, 2020, and then 2021, and then also G2 2021, 2022, and then Heretics
Yeah.
again over to 2023, and then now over into Apeks in 2024. You know, I mean, there's definitely credence in what you've been saying, and so for you, you know, looking at adaptations, and
Hmm.
you already said that aiming and having, you know, having to do things to catch up with the rest of the scene in order to not let it pass you by. Um, what do you feel just sort of uh, was the biggest adjustment you made over the years, not just looking over into this year in particular, in your stint with Apex, that allowed you to basically remain at the top of the scene?
I mean, I knew after the Heretics season, I knew I needed a team where the environment is like top one priority for me. Like I cannot play in an environment where people are not friends and people just go home after the prac or whatever. I needed some people around me that you can feel they are happy for you and they're your friends, and you can always, like, if you feel something is wrong, you can always ask them and they'll give you feedback, and they will not try to hurt you in a way. And that's how I feel like we had in the beginning with G2. We're just a bunch of friends just playing the game. You're just vibing. You need good vibes in the team, because without that, I feel like you will not be the best. You can probably win one tournament if you're lucky, and after that, what then? People gonna tear each other's head off. For me, when I joined Apeks, I was like, okay, this is my main focus, and if I don't have that, I don't know what to do, because I will refuse to play, basically.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. So sorry, you can go.
I mean, like looking over into like how the Heretics 2023 stint ended, obviously, basically, pretty bad. And
Yeah.
the team having to finish at the very bottom or nearly at the very bottom of the EMEA league, and then after as a result of that, you and other players went different ways. You, for yourself, in particularly, went over to Apex for
Mm-hmm.
2024, and obviously for many people, when people look well, for different people, if they were put into that kind of a different situation, or if they were put into that same situation, going from tier 1 to tier 2, they would see it as a step down, and they would see it like as like a they would see it as a bad thing. And for you, how'd you kind of look at that, in having to go from tier 1 to tier 2 with the aim to get back into tier 1?
Yeah. I mean, coming from tier 1 to tier 2, in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm screwed. But after some time, I was looking into it. Okay, I mean, I need this. I actually maybe need this, just to fall back a bit. Just focusing on myself, on my team, and just take it slow, because I've pretty much going hard since day zero Valorant. I was playing, focus to be the best, and sometimes you just need to let it go a little bit, because I was really stressed at that in that period. I was getting shit ton of weight. I mean, if you look at a picture from how I was in G2 or Heretics till now, like I literally gained a bunch of weight because of the stress. I just couldn't balance it pretty much, and I really had to take a step back and just focus on myself. And I think it was really good that I've done that. Just go in tier 2, destroy everyone in Polaris, and then I didn't feel any pressure onto maybe Ascension. Like when you pay attention, you start feeling, okay, this is how I feel like maybe a year ago in VCT. And then I was like, okay, I mean, I feel like I've fixed myself mentally, physically, and all that stuff. It was good.
In that case, then, did you feel like winning Ascension? Now, on top of just having it like be an excellent moment for yourself and the team, and having to make it to tier 1, do you feel like it gave you like sort of vindication as to just the struggle you went through to go from Heretics to back to tier 1? Or
Mm-hmm.
if not, what kind of feeling did it give you when it comes to winning that event with all of that in mind?
Yeah, I mean, winning that event, I mean, I tried to show myself that I still got it pretty much. Because after Heretics, of course, my confidence was rock bottom, like bottom of the barrel, and I just literally had to show myself that, okay, I can win something. I can be with the big guys, because I used to be the big guy, but you can always fall. I just want to show myself that I can still do it. I'm still that guy.
Do you feel like winning Ascension was like top the top moment of your career because like you won a first strike, over in
Mm.
Heretics, and you've made it to a few masters over the years with G2. But I gotta ask you, like, is it number one in your rank of top AvovA Valorant career moments?
I would say I was just I'll say yes. I mean, I've never worked as hard as for Ascension, so I'll just say yes. I mean, I feel like all the preparation we did, like final this reward was out of this world. Um, I'll say first rank is almost up there, but Ascension is for sure the number one.
No, for sure. And I kind of want to now pivot over to the year that was over in 2024 because, like as I said at the
Mm-hmm.
earlier on in the conversation, we saw a vastly different Apex compared to the one we saw at the end of the 2023 season over in Ascension and all that jazz. Obviously, you were one of the people that joined into Apex, along with other members of the squad, Hype, mostly soulcas and kaajak. And it's easy to say that going from start of the season in 2024 up until the very end, it was like a smooth sailing kind of thing, very, very everything very easy. But it's another way to see that and think of like the things that has to be done in order to Apex to be so dominant in your respective regional league and also getting into the Ascension tournament. So I kind of want to now rewind back over to the start of 2024 season
Mm-hmm.
when it became time for you guys to form that team, actually be a team and having to, install the things that you need for the system to be executed successfully. And so what was that experience like in having to create that synergy, create that environment for yourself and the rest of the team?
I think Danny he did. I think he had a longer trial as well, just like the this year. Um, I know for myself when I trial with them, it's like I'll play with them one day and then I'll wait 2 weeks with no answer, and then I'll play one more time. Then went 2 more weeks, and then one more time, and I'm like, what is going on? I kind of had to reach out myself, like, yo, am I gonna play more with you? Am I in, or what is going on? And I think Danny at that point he didn't know himself, like what the fuck was going on. Uh, I mean, there was a lot of different variables. Like I had different trials. I know soulcas had maybe multi. I'm not sure. I mean, everything was just like all over the place. And we were actually supposed to play with Shadow, but he went to Koi like pretty much last second. Uh, so I don't remember how it was actually. I was playing with so many different players. Like I don't know what the fuck was going on. It was pretty much like this trial. Like everything was just hectic. But yeah, we ended up on me, soulcas, and Mulsi. And then I remember we trialed some Sentinels, and we ended up with Hype. And then for the duelist, we were not sure at all. I'm pretty sure it's like pretty late into the off season, just like right now. I think it's like a cursed Apex thing. And then I remember Mulsi is that, oh, this Polish kid, the kaajak. I'm like, who is this guy? We looked him up. He had great stats. What he played like tier 3 Polish league or whatever. No one knew anything about him other than Multi maybe. And like, yeah, let's just try him. And then we trialed him out, and we could see huge potential in him. Like his mechanics was insane, just like Flores basically. But obviously he was inexperienced, and you had to teach him that.
Did you kind of mention kaajak right there, and I basically had the same like thought as in, okay, kaajak, he's definitely making noise in Apex and having to see him perform very well as a duelist, and even like during the season right in tier 2 there were already rumors as to him like possibly going over to tier 1 at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the year, yeah, and having to go through different like organization had things not fared well for the Apex squad. And so I mean definitely like interesting to listen to you talk about kaajak and knowing that basically had the same thought as I going into the season with having a player like him, and given that he's practically unknown coming into the 2024 season. And so, did you kind of think that Kayak will perform so well so quickly and being seen as like top prospect for um the Valorant scene?
I mean, yeah, I feel like pretty fast that who Kai could be. I remember we played our first tournament right after we had our bootcamp in November, maybe 2023. We went straight to Egypt like maybe 2 weeks after to play a tournament, and we shit ourselves or whatever. We played really bad. People like typing, "Oh, Apeks, they're so bad. They'll not win Ascension. They'll not even get into Ascension." But I knew that that tournament didn't matter at all because it was not ideal, like how the whole thing went. But with Kayak, I could see pretty fast that he could be one of the best. I think I even said in an interview, even right after the Egypt one. Imagine playing bad, and I still say that. Like I really saw the potential in this kid. I think he did a great job, like listening to feedback and playing so well. Like I'm actually proud of him. It's like seeing your kid grow up, kinda. I'm happy for him to be in Fnatic. He deserves it. But yeah, I saw it pretty fast how talented he is.
Yeah, for sure. Like definitely, like then when the time comes for Apex to go up against Fnatic, are you going to be looking for Kayak in those like 1v1 moments? If that situation does present itself, do you want like that kind of like particular showdown with him?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm gonna be screaming at him when I kill him. I mean, I'll teabag the through the 360s around his body. I mean, it's gonna be fun. I mean, it's gonna be like a friendly banter. It's not gonna be like a rival, you know. I mean, I'll have a lot of fun playing against him.
No, definitely, and yeah, like then as the year transpired and the team was continuing that show of dominance in the domestic side, or more so like domestic side in sense of ERLs, um, then I kind of also want to touch upon the the um the pivot that the org made. You know, as I said earlier on, and
Mm-hmm.
having to go into Valorant and only Valorant, and at that point the team was also like a part of different divisions
Yeah.
in the operations, you know, more specifically CS and Fortnite. And I remember, of course, you know, they made that statement, as I said, obviously, some time ago, going over basically putting all of their focus into Valorant and all that stuff. I mean, I already asked you about that kind of stuff during Ascension, but I want to ask you about when the moment was made and basically you guys were given the heads up, like, okay, hey, we're gonna be putting all, or we're basically focusing only on getting into
Mm-hmm.
VCT for next year. You know, what was that like for you? You know, what was your headspace at that moment when it became evident that such was going to be the move?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if I was still a new player and not experienced, I would feel like, oh shit. I mean, I would feel pressured about that, you know. But to be honest, I even said it in the documentary that is gonna come out soon. That I don't really feel the pressure. Like I don't care basically. Like I'm just gonna focus on myself and then on my team because it's useless to think about that Apex is gonna go down and all that stuff. I don't want any like outside noise to get into our space. Basically, I feel like it's useless and it's not gonna help you, and it's not gonna. It's only gonna make it worse, basically. So I didn't want to think about it at all. Like I heard about it, I feel sad, sorry about it. That it's like this, and I mean, I'm gonna try my best because if I try my best, it's gonna help Apex in the end, you know. So I didn't really think about it too much.
And with that thought in mind, obviously you guys competed well and made ascension in that regard. And moving on over to 25. I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about Kayak in facing off against him in Fnatic. You know,
Mm.
well, what about soulcas? You know, in having to see him come and go and having to to see him join Koi? You know, are you also looking for him in terms of just
Oh yeah, oh
seeing
yeah,
teams to beat?
for sure. Like all my previous teammates, I'm gonna be talking a bit louder to them. I mean, in the end, it's just for fun, and they know it as well. Like we are still friends. It's not like we have any bad blood or anything. I mean, I'll call them snakes on Twitter and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun. I'm really just gonna focus on our team and just try to win as much as possible. And if there's a little bit of friendly banter or rivalry, it's just a bonus.
I mean, like I mean, despite having to see these guys come and go, and having to go to different organizations, you guys had to retool and basically did exactly that as of the time of the recording. So now you have Florescent, now you have that unnamed Turkish player for 2025. As it stands right now with the team, and you guys now are basically just sort of waiting for the season to kick off. Where do you kind of look at your team compared to the others in terms of just current level and current like potential? Where do you kind of see yourself against the rest of the league right now?
I mean, I definitely feel like we are underdogs. I don't feel like anyone in VC sees us. Oh, Apeks. Yeah, that's shit. But it's gonna be like, I think they'll get surprised because I feel like we got the X factor. It's gonna be a surprise. I feel like we're definitely gonna upset some people.
And like exactly for which ranking? Like, do you see the team being like third, or fourth, fifth, anything like that?
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like this year's VCT is all over the place. Like there's some really good rushes, but I'm not sure how the synergy is gonna be. If they lose one game, like how their mental state will be. There's a lot of, I don't know. I feel like this year's VCT is really weird compared to the other ones. I feel like it's a lot more unstable.
A lot more
So I can't
unstable.
really place like where people are gonna be.
All right, let me ask you something about that. Just sort of looking at the rest of the competition, or more so twisted in another direction at the same time. How would you kind of compare this squad to all the other squads that you've been a part of, as in Heretics G2 and also Apex 2024?
Mm, I would say a bit more inexperienced, but a lot more firepower. Feel like this team got insane firepower, especially with the 2 new additions. But obviously, 2 of the players don't have a lot of experience in Tier-1. So I think in that department, we're obviously going to work on that. But it's not like a huge gap. It's not something you need like months to learn, basically. So we just need to practice, and that's it. I mean, we're running a bit low on time because we're going to play soon, pretty much. So we're going to just do what you got to do and focus on the small things, basically.
Now I want to dive into the Heretics in 2023, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of like you kind of touched upon the struggles in that aspect into your mindset, and how you kind of see that as like a step towards improving yourself into Apex. And obviously, like, looking and as a part of the Heretic squad from last year, and then seeing how the team rebuilt itself into 2024, and seeing them basically almost win an international
Mm-hmm.
event. I'm kind of curious as to how like that transition happened, but from the 2023 side of things, and having to look at that stuff. And obviously, as I said, the team basically struggled for the majority of the season, finishing at the bottom, near the bottom of the
Yeah.
league standings, and having only one chance in the international. Over in kickoff, you had only one
Yeah, one game
match.
and we're out.
Basically, that as it was. I mean, still format was pretty tough in that regard, and yeah, like basically that was it. One and done. But still, like, having to look at the 2023 season, and also having to see um the team slot in an assistant coach into the squad, basically at the middle of the season, having to play with that, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing at the same time the exit of Zeke, and obviously the famous saying goes, the personality mismatches, in that statement at the
I mean, yeah,
time.
there was definitely some personality mismatch there. I mean, it is what it is. You can't really point fingers on just him, and it was like pretty much on everyone. It was like on paper, this team could have been great, but there's so many like small things that just didn't go well. It's like mixing water and oil in the end.
Yeah, because like in a lot of ways that was kind of surprising in the sense that like you had already had experience with some members of the team in the sense of like Kellogg's, Mixwell over
Hmm.
in G2, and maybe in the previous iteration of Heretics. You can kind of correct me on that in that regard, but nevertheless, still like how'd you kind of look at the overall season as a whole for Heretics? Biggest, what do you think some of the biggest issues was that led to this it being so unstable?
I mean, I think we went into. I think it even started like maybe after kickoffs. Because before kickoffs, we went in, we played in a tournament in India. Everything went well. We lost to Paper Rex in the end, which was, I mean, it was a bummer, but there was nothing happened there. I think it was, we went into kickoffs thinking we're gonna win it all. You're like, yeah, who's EG? Like, who the fuck are these guys, And then we went into the game, and they had some funky ass comp on Pearl. I remember some Eurojet comp. I don't know what the fuck it was. They're doing some crazy shit. They play really well, and we lost that game, and we're pretty much out. Yeah. After that, that's when, yeah, that's how I feel like our team got split there, pretty much. It's like when you're a team, you have to be moving in like a unit. But as soon as the team is split, like it's hard to come back together, and it happened pretty early on, and it obviously showed in the VCT season. And I wouldn't really put any blame on, like, let's say Zeke or whatever. I mean, obviously it was rough, but I wouldn't put one finger like, oh, this is the guy that did all of this. And it was all of us pretty much.
And then I also remember like all the attention more put towards when the switch was made, and obviously like at that point Zeke was probably the best performing player statistically wise, and also if you kind of want to talk about that also, things besides just the numbers and stuff, but like
Hmm.
nevertheless there was plenty of like commotion as to like why, like the people will say, oh, okay, why would you put a player like him over into the bench when he's been performing very well, and why would you do this and why would you do that, and why, and how this will kind of lead to much worse results. Still, like, how'd you kind of look at sort of the time in particular, Weber in as the as a player, and not on the side as an assistant coach, just having them pull double duty in that sense. How you can look at that kind of change in particular, and then also the reaction, the community reaction as to how that went down.
I would say before we started in Weber, we had a talk before that, a bit earlier, like some games earlier, that we wanted to do this because their environment was really bad. But we were like, yeah, he's performing good, let's just try it out. Let's just give it another chance. But then in the end, it was pretty much necessary to do this change. And just with a better environment, just pretty much won a game. Like, we pretty much lost the whole season, and as soon as we started in Weber, like, he hasn't played the game for, I don't know, like in forever. We won. What can I say? Like, a better environment. Like, the environment is, for me, is key pretty much. If you have a bad environment, some players are not gonna perform, and that's how it is.
How do you kind of look at just sort of not focusing on just the switch, and because as you said, like it wasn't just the personality mismatches that kind of like
Mm.
basically encompasses how the season was for that team, but more so, as you said, you know, basically everyone having a part as to why this season played it went as it did. Uh, what do you think just sort of made it happen in that regard? You know, what made the difference, or also what made it, yeah, what made the environment like that, as you said?
Like with Weber, yeah.
More so like before, you know, or more so in general the season, you know, with like the struggles and stuff like that, and the team not performing to expectations. That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I wouldn't really. I don't really want to put it out there because it's a bit. It was a bit kind of stupid, like this whole thing, and some miscommunications and how people talk to each other. I mean, just putting Weber in just pretty much fix it. Like it was like a bandage fix, pretty much. I mean, in the end, like this team was not gonna work. Yeah.
And I think like it's kind of made it much more worse in terms of like having to always, or more so having to lose, and then having to try to fix what you need to fix, and then losing again, and then you know trying to do the same. Basically, kind of a bad cycle in terms of like no matter how you guys what you guys do, it's just not gonna work out. Like basically, and it only lead to a much worse environment. That's basically what it felt like, right? And just having to try to fix what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, at some point it was just unfixable, pretty much. So you had to do some drastic changes, and it's part of the job, pretty much. It's business, you know. Um, I think getting Weber in as well. The whole environment changed because he has so much experience. He was playing really good somehow. I don't know. He got some. He got some. I don't know. He was aiming so well in that game. I remember. Everyone was pretty surprised, and everyone was happy to have him on board. I mean, he really showed his experience from CS and how long he has been playing.
I think it was the, as you said, that victory in which Heretics had in the regular season. I can't remember. I'm trying to look it up right now. I can't remember who they beat as to. I think it was
Who
either,
we beat? I think it was
yeah.
Giants we beat.
Yeah, probably against that, because like I remember like I even like had a quick conversation with Weber in that season, and kind of
Mm.
asked him about the general vibe of the team, and basically it's basically he kind of explained it as how you kind of explained it. He saw that there was a bad environment. He kind of was put into it to kind of fix it, and he basically did exactly that, just having to steer the ship as the year ended. And so in that regard, you know, there was a little bit of a good ending to that season. Well, good ending. But you know what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like that then kind of leads us to where we are right now. And you kind of
Mm.
already talked about, you know, going through that, seeing 2023, going over to 2024, doing well in 2024, finally succeeding again in 2024, and now putting us back into 2025. And so trying to ball it up together as we kind of now head towards the end of the all of my questions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Looking over to your personal trajectory, you know, your individual journey from like Heretics 2023 up until now, and having to go through all of these struggles and all these uh comebacks. I would say, what do you feel is like well, more so how do you kind of look at your personal journey in this specific time frame, and having to go through all of that, and now coming into 2025 as like back into tier 1.
I mean, I feel like I had a lot of time to reflect on what I want to do, like who I am as a person and as a player. Like in that Heretics season, I was like, I don't know, like I was feeling like everything was so hectic. I really couldn't balance my life because so many stuff was happening, and I really had to take a step back and just reflect on: do I still want to be a pro player? Do I still want to play Valorant? Because in Heretics, when so many stuff is going on, like you'll practice, play a few ranks, and that's it. Like I didn't have the energy to do a lot of other stuff. So I know like what affects me and what doesn't, and what is good, what is bad, what I want from my team, what I want from my teammates, what I want from myself. And yeah, I mean, I'm in a lot better place right now. I feel like I got it for the next year. I'm not gonna perform like I did in that season in Heretics.
Do you feel like 2024 was like the best possible year you could have had in your career in Valorant?
Yeah, I feel like. I mean, I've had really good years, but I feel like this year tops it all. Like I really found myself. I feel like, and it really fueled my competitive drive, basically. Like I've been playing Valorant for a long time now. I've been playing esports for a long ass time, and this was like, okay, I still got it, and I still want this. You know, I still want to be the best.
Basically, gave you the motivation, right, to continue at this.
Yeah, because I was pretty much at the rock bottom. Like it couldn't have been worse, pretty much.
Mhm. And definitely very happy that it didn't really happen, that you didn't take that route in terms of actually retiring, because like gotta ask you, like, out of curiosity, were you actually very close to retiring?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was close, but I was thinking, like, do I want to do this? Like, if I get a team like that again, like, do I actually want to waste my whole year just in a team, just getting a salary and being so stressed all the time? I'm like, I was just thinking, like, do I want this? And I mean, I was thinking about it a lot, and I was like, if I don't get a team where the environment is good, I'm just not gonna play. I'll just play ranked for another year and like build myself as a player, and hopefully next year I'll get a trial or whatever. But thankfully, Apex was pretty much like the perfect match. So yeah, everything went well.
Everything went well indeed, and now, well, kind of now want to put over a little bit of focus on to kick off real quick. I mean, in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways, is it kind of an encapsulation of your career, Apex? Because like, as it turned out, what you're going to see in Apex's road for the start of the year is, I believe. Well, let me just put up the schedule for kickoff. You know, first you have that
Yeah,
match against Gentlemates.
gentlemates. Yeah.
You know, you face off against them, facing off the team that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
kept Apex into tier 2 for another year, and then you win that, and then you have a match against Heretics, and then of course, you know, with one of your past teams over, and then from then
Mm-hmm.
on, you know, we'll see what goes on from there. But nevertheless, like, how'd you kind of look at your upcoming matches against, you know, Gentlemates and possibly also Heretics?
I mean, I think it's pretty fun that we get those two teams. I mean, obviously the org got the history with gentlemates, and I got history with the heretics. So it's gonna be really fun to play. But honestly, I don't really think too much about, like, it doesn't really add pressure to me. Like I have to win against them, or I have to do some certain, I don't know, walkouts or whatever. I just play. I just focus on me. I focus on how the team is playing, and obviously see who I'm playing against. And I just take it one step at a time. I don't really think too much about, like, yeah, some entertainment stuff. I don't really think about that. I just want to win, and that's it.
When is that your primary goal? You know, basically, do you have like something you see as like your goal on top of just winning? You know, maybe making masters, maybe doing well in
Hmm.
EMEA, maybe like making champions as well. What do you kind of see as your goal?
Like I really want to go to a masters. Like I don't want to play 10 matches in the studio and that's it for the season. Like I really want to go to masters and potentially go into the champs, because if you get into the champs, you get 1 year more in VCT. So that's pretty much the goal. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a lot of work, and that's it. Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing I can focus on right now.
hopefully you're able to do that and maintain your more so, or hopefully you're able to do that, and then you're able to also like reach or more so sustain your apex level. Try to make a pun right there. If
Mhm.
it's bad, then I apologize, but
It's fine.
it's just how I do things with my crappy jokes. But
Mhm.
speaking of things that are not crappy, I don't know why I did that segue, but you get what I'm trying to say. That
Yeah, it's
that
fine.
wraps up all of my questions for this conversation. Of course, I did say quick, and now we kind of almost passed an hour and a half. So good on that for me. And so, AvovA, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk to you during the off season, and hopefully I can talk to you again during the actual
Yeah.
season itself in VCT EMEA when the time arrives. But nevertheless, I gave thanks to you for giving me this time. And got any final words to share for anyone in the world that would be
I
listening to
mean,
this
thank
conversation?
you for having me on your show, on the interview. And I mean, I'll never give up. That's my word. That's
Well,
it.
sweet and concise, man. Nothing else to be said any further. So, oh, but thank you so much.
Thank you.